Hello, Doctor Who viewers. Welcome to the episode 5 podcast. I am Director James Strong, and I'm joined today by
Mike Jones, the editor.
Excellent. So this is a little recap of what happened last week. And what's the key to a good recap, Mike?
The key to a good recap is all story and no, not so much of the action. There's two. When we do these, there's the recaps that we have at the beginning, and at the end we have the trails. The trails are sort of style over content, and they're just all the sexy bits. And these bits are they're just story.
So in case you missed last week, we'll tell you what happened.
Yeah.
What happened last week?
I don't know.
I don't know. No,
I missed that.
Oh, really? It's quite good, apparently. So this is episode 5, and it is Daleks in New York.
It's actually Evolution of the Daleks.
This is called Evolution of the Daleks, yes.
Yeah.
No, there we go. There it says there is
on
the screen. Evolution of the Daleks by Helen Rayner. A wonderful script. So we're back in the transgenic lab here, which is the first time really we've seen the prosthetic of Dalek Sec, which is quite incredible, really. And it's obviously much bigger than his actual head was. And I think, actually, just where the nose is where there's two little holes where Eric can see what was around him. And other than that, he was completely blind. And once they put it on him, first thing in the morning, it took about 3 or 4 hours every day. And he had to sit pretty much in it all day. And
how's it work? And what's it? Are they motors?
Well, what you've got is a kind of piece that fits over his face, and then it's like a kind of a big hat that sits on top, which has got the eye and those sort of the tentacles on it, and they are radio controlled. So just offset is the lovely Pete from Millennium Effects, who is operating the eye and the tentacles with the actual sort of little remote control thing you do it's actually adapted from a remote control car. Apparently, it's the same kind of principle. But what's brilliant is Pete, who does it, is very good because he kind of actually listens to what is being said. So you'll notice at moments of sort of expression and kind of anger or whatever, the eye kind of widens and closes appropriately, which is very clever. But it was a bit of a number, so we had massive scheduling issues with it because it took so long to get Eric in and out of it that we had to sort of try and minimise the length of time that he was wearing it because it was a bit of a number. So here we have the transgenic lab, which was a location we had in Trident Park, which was kind of out on the outskirts of Cardiff, which done a lot of filming in apparently, but it was singly the coldest place I've ever filmed. Actually,
I went down on set one day, and it was so much colder in there than it was in the middle of winter.
But it was actually colder inside than it was outside.
Yeah,
which is bizarre.
You can see their breath.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
which actually you can see on spot on the odd shot. Now, the Daleks, how do they actually? Or maybe explain to them how they actually work in terms of Nick Briggs, who's the voice of the Daleks. He doesn't do it like you'd think he did it post-wise, but actually he does it live, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got a ring modulator, which is a sound effect that he's got linked up to a microphone that does all the Dalek voice effect, and that's also linked up to the Dalek head, where the lights flash in time with what he's saying. So, and he's just here. He's in a table off to the left, and he's reading his lines out of the script at the actual time, isn't he?
Yeah, which means actually you'd think it was sort of something you could do afterwards, but actually it's invaluable because that makes them exactly kind of interact with the other characters as and when they're saying their lines and stuff. And actually it would be nonsense to do it otherwise, the other way around. This is our wonderful sewer set, which was, and this is one of my favourite shots.
Brilliant shot. I loved it. I remember when this came in, I just went, that's the best Dalek shot ever.
Oh, thank you. It was the one thing I wanted to do, which was basically attach a camera to the Dalek, so you'd actually sort of be travelling at the same speed, but have that sort of sense in which you were moving with the Dalek. And it was one of those shots that actually, when you're kind of doing the scene, because we're always up against it with our schedule, that you're thinking, oh, I really want to do that shot, and So he did it, and it was like, and actually the guys, Brian, who's a wonderful rigger, pre-prepared it with Roger, and so it was done in a flash, and we stuck the camera on, and then we just rolled them down the corridors, and as soon as we did it, it looked amazing.
This scene. This is one of our favourites, isn't it? This is great Dalek plotting and the way that they're just so
conspiratorial.
That's exactly the word I was searching for.
One of the big things Russell said with these episodes and the Daleks, because the Daleks obviously are our Doctor Who folklore legend. They've been in since the start, really, of Doctor Who. So trying to find a new way to shoot them, but also with things like attaching the camera to them, but also trying to make them, I don't know, come alive in a way that, not that they haven't been before, but in just trying to work on them so they come across, and the fact that they're plotting, and the fact that they're always kind of scheming, and they're alive, and so the guys inside are always doing something. And we had, obviously, there's the guys inside, but there's also the other guys who've got some more remote control bits and bobs who operate the eye stalk and the head turns and stuff. That they're always moving. The eye stalk is always moving. They're always alive, alert, and something's happening. That was the big thing that Russell, he said to me, look, make sure the Daleks are always doing something, because you could just you can ignore them. This is now we're back in Hooverville, which is, I think this is one of my favourite sequences.
This is one of my favourite sequences
of all time.
It's just the whole panic. We were trying to create this massive panic here, and have everyone running around, and
confusion, the fear, lots of all the cameras handheld. There's a bit of Steadicam in there. We just wanted to try and convey that kind of fear, really.
That's great, that one.
And also it's got a sort of Wild West kind of feel about it. They're all backs to the wall, kind of in, and it's the last line of defence, and
they're all being rounded up by the Daleks and the pigs.
But also the enemy's kind of unseen, so they're kind of where they are, and here they come, so it's great, and they start firing at them, and
there's a shot coming up here where you see a pig fall low. There he is. That wasn't actually shot as such, but we cut around that to make it look like we actually got a pig.
Yeah, we didn't want to actually have too many of the pigs being shot. Actually, I was going to. This is there we go, a flying Dalek, which is absolute. Look at that, isn't that fantastic? So we've got a mixture here of obviously CGI for the actual shots where it's flying, and then we've got our actual Dalek, which we took and stuck on a large platform in a car park against the black sky. So mix and match them. So how is it quite easy mixing between the? Do you think we get away with it? I think.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing is, I'm disappointed that my 2D Monty Python-esque animations of the original haven't made it in.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, yes, what you'll never see, sadly, are when we're in the edit suite for the benefit of viewings and when everybody comes and looks at them stuff. Mike, bless him, puts his own sort of slightly cartoon-esque attempts on screen, which
that's a real Dalek.
Yeah. But they do help. I think they actually are invaluable for the process of, being able to view the finished film with sort of an idea of what the elements.
Well, I moved the Daleks around on the screen like you see there, but the mill obviously do it in 3D and very well.
Because obviously what happens is there's a huge delay from when we finish cutting the film to when the mill deliver the special effects, just because it takes them so long to do them because they're so complicated and they're so amazing. So we very rarely have anything really completed, do we, when we've actually finished the edit, the offline, if you like, which is the bit where it's offline fine cut. The offline is where we kind of put it all together, and then the fine cut is where I've finished. So while we're shooting, Mike is sort of putting it together, aren't you, every day? Mm-hmm. And then I come in after the shooting's finished and we fine cut for a couple of weeks to just get it exactly how we want it, and we put the music in and stuff, and then all the grown-ups come in, Russell and Julie and Phil, and give us all their notes and tell us what rubbish they think it is or not. And then we kind of we finish it for a while, don't we? And then we kind of come back a few weeks later when we do all the sound, and then in the interim Murray does all the music and the mill do all the special effects, and then it all kind of comes together. So it's actually not until the sort of final mix that it all kind of comes together, really, isn't it? And it's like kind of seeing it afresh, I think, sometimes. You kind of, with everything come together, and then you can have a really good idea about how how it's kind of all works, really.
There we go. Oh, there's Solomon getting exterminated.
Now, is it very rare? You don't normally see somebody after they've been zapped by a Dalek.
Yeah.
Do
This
they
is
turn to ash or something?
yeah.
Was I
This
imagining
is
that?
a new thing. I think. To be honest,
I'm
not sure.
We don't know. This was a massive evening we were filming in Cardiff. This one, and we were so lucky because the weather it managed to stay dry for the entire evening, and it was forecast. I mean, it was forecast torrential rain, so everybody was like, "Oh no!" But actually, we were blessed with the weather. But so these shots of the Dalek were shot about 3 or 4 weeks later in the car park at Upper Boat, where the studios were. But often when you're kind of shooting such big scenes as these, with all of those actors and extras and stuff, you have to kind of sometimes drop certain shots to second unit, which means we'll pick them up at another date. So we concentrate on getting the most important stuff, David and Freema, and having all of these kind of crew and cast there with that massive set and all those extras. So we have to kind of get the meat of it, if you like. But often that means a few odd shots are left behind. So it must be kind of, you don't know that when you often when you get the rush to the next thing.
I ring him up saying, James, we really don't have any shots of Daleks, and he's going, don't worry,
I know that. We're doing it later.
Well,
and I go,
see these shots
right,
here.
Don't forget shots of Dalek. We forgot the shots of Dalek, did we? No. So we didn't. I knew we forgot. We deliberately didn't shoot them here.
And another thing about those is that they were static. They were just the Dalek was just on a.
We had to try and make it look as if they were flying, and that was not easy. How do we do it?
Originally, I just put a little move on the Dalek, so it looked like it was floating. Like they are there.
Yeah, look at that. That's fantastic. So you actually made the picture. You made the Dalek in the shot float,
just sort of bouncing off the edges, and it's just a subtle little.
Give the impression that they're flying. Which is a bit like what with the screens in the Transgenic Lab. They're a kind of mixture of graphics and CGI. So because we have the graphics department who do kind of the more sort of illustrative stuff, don't they?
At BBC Wales.
Yeah, and they kind of put that into the mill, then put that into the screens, which then kind of become, as it were, the finished product in the scene.
But before that, I sort of make a mock-up of it. Mock-up probably is the best.
Mock-up,
the best.
Yes.
So that everybody has got a good idea of what it eventually
the end result will be. Exactly.
Will look like.
So here we are. This is back in Hooverville, and I remember these scenes. In fact, that scene actually was. That was raining, actually. I was talking about raining earlier. It was pouring then, and we managed to kind of tent an area to shoot that one scene while we hoped it would stop raining, which it did, thank the Lord. Now, a bit of a mistake on my part here. See the black Dalek behind. We should have got rid of that a little bit earlier, I think. It should have gone... Kind of a bit of an oversight on my part. We should have lost it probably at the beginning of the episode, really, because you wouldn't have noticed. It would have gone in the week interim. But it sort of... Because often you're shooting scenes out of order, in the script order. You kind of... That's just a huge thing, keeping control of all of the different elements of the story and stuff. And for some reason, that kind of got overlooked. But I don't think it matters.
It didn't spoil it. It didn't spoil my enjoyment of it.
Now, those Bunsen burners were a bit lethal, actually. One of the Sparks jackets nearly caught fire at one point. But
I suppose the sound boys have done a great job because all the way through these scenes there were gas blowers blowing big.
All the flames that go on in the air.
Balls of flame. There's a fantastic shot of all the human Daleks in the roof.
Now, they were originally going to be, in the storyboards, they were going to be sort of circular, fanned, but when we shot the actual plate, it felt better that there were sort of straight lines and stuff. And, actually, it was Barney, the visual effects supervisor, who suggested, actually, this should be more linear. And actually, he's right. It looks amazing. Now, you might... 10 points if you can recognise who is the body on the stretcher. Do you know who that is? Does anybody know? Did anybody notice that is somebody you should recognise? Who is it?
Al Gore.
No, close. He's actually the foreman from episode 4. He's the foreman who gets taken by the pigmen and the Dalek, and he's sort of taken away. And I kind of thought it would be nice to kind of have him come back as the link with this episode, but actually, don't think anybody noticed. But anyway, I noticed.
I've noticed. I noticed. I have seen it about 800 times. So.
Lovely. Well, you noticed, yeah. But lovely Ian, who's a very lovely actor. And if you notice the hand there of Dalek Sec, we had a bit of a wrangle in episode 4 because when he emerged from when Mr. Digress emerged from the lift, he puts his gloves on because we thought the prosthetics department hadn't done hands, so therefore he would have had human hands and a human Dalek head. So what we actually did was had to get Eric to put gloves on, and so that would he'd be wearing gloves when he became the monster. But actually, lo and behold, in the bottom of the bag was a pair of gloves of actual the Dalek Sec kind of monster hands, if you're human Dalek hands. So it's a little bit it's a little bit of a weird one, but. But he does have the hands, so that was all. It was all right in the end, but it does look a bit weird if you watch it and you wonder why he puts these gloves on. But that was the reason. So now when you watch it again, you'll know what's happening.
I'm sure they hadn't noticed until now.
No, I no one would have noticed, of course. So this was actually, I think this was very much the last thing we shot in Hooverville, and by now it was very muddy. It was up to your ankles, and I think a few of the makeup girls lost their shoes in the mud.
And here we've got the graphics that we were done at BBC Wales to demonstrate the oncoming solar flare that the Daleks are going to use to power up the Dalek humans.
And I think Hal did a great job here. I mean, imagining there's human DNA on the left, Dalek DNA on the right, and then
that's
Dalek human DNA in the middle. But we wanted a kind of 30s. They wanted them to feel, obviously their graphics and sort of sci-fi, but not too modern, futuristic. So they kind of got a sort of...
Yeah, a retro feel.
Retro feel, yeah.
When there you can see the solar flare going out. And we wanted it to sort of have that sort of 30s cartoony look to it. And, Hal did very well on that.
I actually sent him those, the Leonardo da Vinci kind of drawings that he did.
Yeah.
With those sort of flying machines and stuff. That was kind of one of the influences that we sort of said. I mean, it's quite subtle, but there's an element in there. But I mean, that kind of branding of sort of the whole era, if you like, is I think it's a lovely sort of coming together of all that kind of thing. When you look behind on the set, you've got this in the back over David's sort of shoulder there. You see that little logo of the Empire State Building, where they've just sprayed it on crates and the boxes and the walls and stuff, which
it's a motif, isn't it? All the way through. If you look carefully in this lab, especially, you'll see that sprayed on different walls and places. So those packing boxes in the left.
Yeah, which is kind of what they did. When you see those big gangster films and the heroes hide behind packing cases, they've always got the sort of the corporation of the gangsters thing on sprayed on the boxes. Yes, now we'll spot them all over the place. There's one there. There it is. But I love I think that the whole set's alive with the flame, and it really feels like they're cooking up a plan. A sort of a scheme in there.
And this is the service lift up to the top of the Empire State Building. We put a little shake on that just to make it feel a bit more realistic. Yeah,
and I think that's one of those scenes where without the sound and without the camera shake, you don't believe it's a lift, and then as soon as you put the sound and then a little shake on it, and it's like, oh, that's brilliant. Hey, you're in a lift.
It's a man moving lights.
There's the hand we talked about. There's the hand.
And Al Gore.
And this does look like Al Gore.
It does.
It's the Ian, our actor, who was the foreman from episode 4. So I mean, it's always a challenge with the Daleks to try and kind of give them all individual personalities and block them and choreograph them to kind of. Because the worst thing you do is have them sort of sat there, but at the same time they can't be distracting. But you've got to just all those little, and I love what the sound guys did with every single movement of their eye stalk of the turrets or whatever. They put a sound on it, so
it just keeps them alive. If you're moving those eye stalks around, there's always something happening. So it's a dynamic in the screen.
I love this with this Dalek. Man, it moves very quickly. That's quite fast for a Dalek. That sort of movie, I can tell you.
And in this scene, you can see the ropes and the wires blowing in the background, and that's because there's a big wind machine blowing and people pulling things, and it was all recorded in post production.
So what they'd have to do is we had a big thing about the drawings for the Empire State Building. They're not actually. It's not actually the Empire State Building because we couldn't use the actual plans. So the art department had to kind of make their own, really, which were these kind of sort of beautiful drawings. I mean, they're absolutely wonderful. As is this map painting, and I think this is my favourite shot in the whole.
Oh, it's a beautiful moment.
It's so kind of Hollywood, I think.
And that is 1930 New York reproduced for our joy and delectation.
Wow, well, yes, what a lovely thought. And can't remember what I was saying then, but anyway, the lab here was always trying to make sure that we had a bit of movement in there. I always felt it was hard because there's so many people, so many things going on that I wanted to try and keep the camera moving, but often we had to kind of compromise and shoot what was happening and stuff because the schedule was tough. But we had so much to do that actually it was hard to kind of. And if sometimes you move the camera too much, it kind of becomes a bit of a distraction and stuff. There's the shell of the black Dalek behind, which should have gone by then, but unfortunately had been left behind.
And there's the Daleks plotting. You can see in this scene as well.
It's a great example here of that's you, Mike, cutting in these shots because we shot them, but it's where there we go. We see the conspiracy.
They're looking in. They're thinking, hey, something's up.
That little concentration of the eye stalk, just making sure that we know that they're watching, always watching. So these drawings that they're looking at here, they were kind of a bit of a long ordeal. This one because they all got kind of confused, and I think the original drawings, which we'll see in a bit, actually, were much more kind of. The Dalekanium on them was much more obvious, and it kind of gave it away a bit. So Russell made us reshoot it quite rightly, actually. But it needs to be very subtle and stuff.
Yeah, it had the big bumps of the Dalek skirting.
Yeah.
On it, so it was too obvious.
It's weird watching this now when you kind of know. Well, you're told that we're at the top of the building. I just completely buy the fact that we're at the top of the building. I feel high just watching it because of the views and because of the way they put that sort of movement in a set at the back. I think it's very clever, and with lots of pulleys and it wasn't all wind machines. We had sort of all these little fish hooks and wires connected to kind of all of the different those props and stuff. So there's a dozen guys at the back just kind of gently pulling all those wires and stuff and making it all work
And in the final version, you can hear that there's the sound of the wind blowing through the room.
Yeah,
which is all put on afterwards, which just helped that whole idea of a really cold, high place.
And actually, I mean, we changed the colour scheme in this room a little in the grade. Sometimes we kind of we look at the rushes and we feel that they're maybe not quite conveying the mood we want. And with this one, we felt.
It was a lot warmer.
So we cooled it down and felt more empty and kind of deserted, really, and sort of more middle of the night. And I think actually it looks beautiful. And in contrast with this,
which is very orangey. If you see upstairs, it's very blue, and this has got a much more of a sort of warmer orangey feel with all the burners blowing, and the contrast works really well. There. You can see that was actually reversed shot because it was going down the tubes. Obviously, it was harder to get the stuff going up. So there you can see this is all trickery.
So these are all reversed, are they, all these shots?
Yeah. And that one was actually upside down and reversed.
Wow.
And there's a wonderful CGI shot from the middle with everything all going up into the ceiling.
So this one here, if you look at the wide shots, are the original drawings. And then now when we cut to the close-ups, these were shot about a month later, this one here. So what you've got on the diagram is a very subtle indication of Dalekanium, so that it requires them to work it out rather than we sort of tell them and makes them look sort of... Who wouldn't notice a massive Dalek thing stuck on the side? Looking at the grade on this, his face looks a bit red to me. I think we maybe overdid the redness here.
Yeah.
Well,
it's red alert. The sirens are all going off. I think that's... We wanted to make it quite...
Yeah.
I think that's okay.
I suppose it should be a contrast. He's got this great voice, great tone, despite the prosthetic. Eric managed to deliver this amazing Dalek Sec voice, which was a kind of combination of Mr. Digress and a kind of... I remember he sat with Nick, who does the actual Dalek voice, and he kind of incorporated just a little bit of the Dalek intonations in the way he was speaking, and it's unique actually.
It works very well.
Mm-hmm. So the Doctor's going to...
There you can see the back of the Dalek where the skirting's been taken off it.
Yeah, we don't really deal with that anymore. After it's sort of mentioned in episode 4, it kind of goes away, doesn't it? We don't really... Because originally, when at the end, the Dalek when he was going to get shot, he was going to get shot on the skirt. Because obviously that's where the armour was. But it kind of went by the wayside somewhere. So here we are, and I think this was towards the end of... I'm trying to work out who's in the Daleks at the moment, because I think there's always... the guys who play the Daleks have got their own particular Dalek, so they kind of sit in each one, and so you kind of never know, but you never know. Sometimes they switch around, and so you're talking to Barney, you think it's Barney, and it's actually, it's someone else, it's Dave, and they sit in there for hours on end, it's an amazing job, what they do. So what would you say was the biggest challenge in this one for you in terms of editing wise?
I think this whole the section sort of coming up, which I don't really want to talk about yet because I'll spoil it. But it's the CGI as usual is leaving the space and to have the imagination to see how the actual sort of total vision will be in the end when everything's been painted in. That's always a challenge. But I think with this as well, it was just keeping the pace. We actually changed a lot of these scenes around.
We changed the order,
and I cut into some of those scenes and cut them in half, and just to sort of keep the pace going, and so that the whole of this sort of chase of the Doctor climbing up to the top of the Empire State Building, followed by the Daleks chasing him, and that everything was all hitting the right pace. Really, it's
always hard when you've got a countdown, isn't it?
Yeah,
'cause you've got to kind of in some way keep to the count. If the timing of the actual cut is completely off, you kind of notice in a way. So when he says 3 minutes to gamma strike, then we've got 3 minutes.
3 minutes, yeah, and it's pretty much dead on.
How much do you think we move things around? We don't do it willy nilly, do we?
No, it's about being. It's about narrative and structure, and you quite often it's something that we do in the edit, which on when the script is on paper, you don't see these things until it's actually been realised, and you've got the whole thing in front of you, and then you realise that you do have to do a bit of jiggling about just to make things just more watchable, really.
And more exciting, and especially that kind of cutting something in half, a scene in half. So when the Doctor climbs up, we kind of, it's just on the page is one scene, and then by cutting it in half and putting it either side of something else, you kind of get it builds it up, doesn't it? And it makes it twice as exciting.
That's probably one of my favourite challenges is actually doing that and making scripts better, really. if that's at all possible. But that's a great shot. That all of that background there was all put in we didn't actually expect that to be there. So that's
no, it's an extra shot. The
Brucey bonus.
Brucey bonus from the mill. But it actually really adds to the sense in which you're on top of the Empire State Building, which we weren't. We were on a heliport in Cardiff Bay, which actually was quite high though anyway. And we had to have all the stuntman, so everybody was wired off, and it was. Did you come down to see it? It was quite high.
I didn't manage to do that.
It was one of those where you got at the top of it and you're like, oh, that's not that high, and then you got up and you went, whoa, actually it is.
The Doctor dropped.
Now that's a slight little. Looking at that, there was a little. You sort of put the action back because obviously he drops the Sonic, and then we cut to the next shot, and the Sonic kind of would have got further, but you've cheated it back. But does that kind of? You'll be careful doing that sort of thing.
Yeah, you have to be careful of that. But because it's about conjuring the eye. You're directing, manipulating where people are looking. So in that bit, I thought it worked. I thought it would. Are you saying it doesn't work?
No, I think it works brilliantly. No, I'm just it's sort of the tricks that that are employed.
Yeah, it's where.
How much? Yeah,
that's wonderful.
How much of that just happens quite a lot? Does it?
Yeah, you quite often will not do things actually in real time, and you'll delay a moment. You'll make it last a bit longer just for the effect.
And then down come all of these stretches. So I think.
All of this section, was just imagination. We didn't really know how it's all going to work, so you have to leave the space. We had the Daleks in the bottom there, but everything on the top, you have to know how much to leave in the cut for the action. You're not exactly sure how long the stretchers are going to take to come down from the ceiling, and it's just things like that I think I'm getting the hang of now.
Yeah, a couple of years, and you might even, might crack it. I think, but also we jump cut around a bit there. A good example when those stretchers were coming down, and then they hadn't stopped coming down, but we cut to them, like people getting off them, and actually that kind of just moved, sort of moved it on a bit and stuff.
It's about being succinct, and you don't have to dwell. You can tell the story, and you don't have to go through the whole of an action because people are TV literate.
There he is again. It's our favourite. It's our favourite. Foreman, who's now a Dalek human soldier.
This is the Dalek humans who've just been born.
It's a Dalek army. It would have been nice to have had a few more in the army, but sadly, this is. But
this is a great scene where they go and they're all arming up with their.
They're very good though.
The guys Tommy guns
did really well at sort of getting them marching at the same time and grabbing their guns and stuff. It was no, they were really good.
And how did you do that shot?
We had a crane. We had a very large crane down at the heliport, and but as you can see on David's shot there, it was incredibly windy. So you'd have to sort of turn over and do the shot almost sort of in the lulls of the wind.
So the wind is that real wind?
I think there was.
I remember the camera was shaking around, so I got it stabilised so that it didn't look like it was shaking so much.
There was a wind machine as well, but unfortunately, it's kind of you needed a wind machine on David, but actually, the ambient wind, if you like, was quite tough for the guy operating the crane camera.
This is what we call a montage. There we go. So,
Make you look like there's hundreds of them, hundreds of soldiers when there's actually 7.
And time's passing, and they're all under the sewers of New York, going out to different places where the Daleks are sending them, and that's just the use of a nice little dissolve.
I wish that we did a few more. I think, but that's. I mean, I think it tells the story, but then it's always nice to have every director will say. Once more.
Well, that's the thing with everything that we do. We always look at I look at cuts, and you look at things, and you'll never get it right. And it would be wrong in a way that if we did. But there's always things that you'd like to go back and tweak.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. There's loads of stuff in everything that you do. But Yes, if you were ever happy, then that's the time to stop.
Yes. There's the.
So poor old Eric, who had not only had the prosthetic on, and then we now chained him to a wall, and he sat on the cold stone floor for hours in the prosthetic, completely manacled to the wall. So it just got worse for him,
and especially because he was often left there at lunchtime.
Yeah, for hours on end, just on his own. So we're back in the lovely theatre in Treorchy, which is an actual real theatre, and was a wonderful location, and nice to be inside the warm for once. But the shot coming up, actually, we did, which is going to come up in a minute, is the one we sped up, which it was kind of. I'm not sure it quite works.
The shot down the laboratory.
Yeah, this one coming up right now, which is basically we sped up the shot.
Yeah.
Just into the Dalek, and here it comes.
I think that works.
It's all right, actually. The problem was the floor was uneven, so what we had, in order to do it, the camera basically rolls really slowly in towards the Dalek, like 300 times slower than you would normally, and then obviously we speed it up.
I use a thing called a time warp. It's actually sped up.
Warp?
It's actually sped up like something like 7,000 times.
So these are the extras again, and what is a little bit unfortunate is they're often a lot of the same guys who are in the sewers, but never mind.
What was that? What was that? Was anything? Does that look like an indoor firework? That explosion.
What you think
was it a big indoor firework? That
you're saying it's a little bit underwhelming?
No. I'm just saying those bits.
Your inference.
You know those when you have an indoor firework and you get.
Well, we had to because of where we
stuff.
were. We couldn't have all of the flame and kind of debris, and it's probably a smaller explosion than we would have ideally had, but we couldn't really blow up.
You couldn't blow the theatre.
We wanted a bit of flame and stuff, and we wanted that kind of quite bizarre spectacle of them coming on the stage, and actually in some of the other shots we had spotlights, actual theatrical spotlights coming on, but we kind of felt
those wide shots. It just didn't feel kind of right. We did play with
unreal,
those
didn't it?
in the first cuts, but we decided to take those out.
And again, Eric's just continues to be a joy for him. He's now on his hands and knees, chained to a Dalek.
He's not having a good time.
This was a big. I mean, we were at the theatre for a couple of days, and this was a big. It's a big scene. And there's so much going on. There's so many people involved and stuff. I mean, there was lots. How do you pick your way through? I mean, there were tons of. Not that they overshot anything at all, but there's lots of footage. How do you begin to sift through it and choose what you're going to use?
Well, a lot of these you shot with two cameras. So what I start off by doing is to link the two cameras together so that they're running exactly the same time. So I do that, by the clapperboard or by the time code. You can play through the same cameras. So that helps. So you're sort of halving the amount that you're sorting through, because you can look at both of the cameras simultaneously and choose between those two different angles. And really, it's just time consuming, and you go through. You're looking for the best performance. You're looking for the best camera. All the things that James is looking for, but maybe some things that he's missed as well. So, not saying that you actually miss anything, but it's just it's just a
do you
time.
Do you look at everything we shoot?
Everything that you shoot, I load into the computer and look through.
Even though we have, because on the day, the script continuity, the wonderful Non would mark what I would say to her was my favourite take or whatever, but you'll still look at.
I'll still have everything in, because sometimes you may need to use something, or on a different take there might be something that you need to use in there, a close up that was better on the first line, and you're looking at the overall take, and that was the take that you liked. So I'm looking at all of the takes to try and make the best, to piece it together and make it work. But 9 out of 10 times I do obviously use the director's take. Yeah,
yeah. Thanks for that. I love these lasers that they've put on the guys here. I mean, they're actually. I said I want the Star Wars lasers from the stormtroopers, and that's what we've got. And they are amazing. And actually, and I love the X-ray effects on the guys being killed.
And you blew the one of those Daleks up.
We blew one up
a month later, didn't you?
Yeah, we blew one up, and initially, I think people felt it was a little bit of a. They were a bit underwhelmed with the explosion. So we did it again. Now, eagle-eyed, you'll see the guy at the back there with the bald head dying, and there he is dying again. Yeah. So he's sort of dying twice.
You're not supposed to notice things like that.
No, but I've just there we go. So we did the explosion again. But then in the end, like ironically, like we just talked about using stuff, you then use the other explosion anyway. So, but what was great was because actually what that meant was we only had money to do one explosion, but because the first explosion wasn't quite. Because they wanted it, we did it again. So actually, in the end, we had two. So rather cunningly.
This is one of my favourite cuts. Just coming up. And bang, those two big bangs. Just to really emphasise, that jump in time, the jump in space, where the dots are going back up to the Empire State Building. It's kind of like... And meeting his nemesis.
It's kind of like a kind of... cut you do in a commercial. It's not sort of, you don't see that. What I love about it, we don't do that often in drama until when we do it.
Yeah.
It really kind of gives a punch.
I'd actually say it's more filmic in a way. It's something that we don't get to do so much in TV drama. I think it's
again, there's all the silence of the scene and just those little sounds of the Daleks moving and stuff, and here you could just hear a pin drop and just accept those little movements of the eye stalk, and it's just wonderful.
It almost makes Dalek Khan vulnerable. There, it's like this little whining moment.
Well, yeah, you start to get start to get a bit of sympathy for him, and then he's gone. And this was this scene coming up. This was I. Talking about things that we wish, you're never happy with. I think, we ran out of time, and I had a lot of things planned for this, not this particular bit, but the bit coming up when the Doctor makes all these potions and stuff. I had lots of sort of, other coverage and shots planned, and unfortunately, we kind of ran out of time. But I remember phoning you up a few days later and going, "Have you got it?" And you very kindly said, "Yes, we've got it and stuff." But
you're not.
No, I just wanted to do something a lot more. I don't know, sexy with this little bit here and stuff. I had sort of huge, big, top shots and a lot of movement and tracking, whipping in and out.
Sort of cuts and
just a lot more coverage. So actually, when it goes together, You had a lot more choice and stuff, and it's fine. It tells a story, but I
like those. Just when you get the action in the shot, and you go from an object and you go up to the Doctor's head and around like that. But little things like that. But
it's just all a little bit front on, and because we had so little time, we just lined up the cameras, and when I think we even overran to get these shots. But there we go. Maybe we can't have it all.
And his
back in Cardiff, and
this is a park in Cardiff. Yeah.
Never put your actors in a hat, ladies and gentlemen.
when they look like a pig or
a
dog.
Now, I think also we also missed a shot out here that we shot, which the shot of the Doctor and Freema, which then pans over to Lula and Laszlo, so you then get the reveal that he's still alive. And I think we should have put that in. We should have put that in. We didn't, because we were brimming over with. Was this episode long? I can't remember. I think it was. They're always long.
Yes. So this was. I
mean,
these episodes, both for 4 and 5, are
and it's always a massive challenge just to get them to length, isn't it? And you've just got to take some stuff out, which is always really can be an agonising process.
But hopefully, you'll see in the deleted scenes.
Yeah, but you see deleted scenes, but then there's just things you shorten and trim and stuff that invariably, actually, and in the majority of cases, you don't miss and actually improve things. But that's one example where I think we sort of rush into the climax a little bit, and I think it could have benefited from a little bit of a space, and just a story to tell us that he's.
Because we quite often do that. We tighten scripts up. We won't just delete a whole... that's another thing about the editing process, is that we'll quite often nip out a few lines just to sort of we still get the idea of the scene, but we don't need it to be so verbose. So we end here back at the Statue of Liberty, which of course is not actually the Statue of Liberty. It's actually the wall outside the Penarth Leisure Centre in Wales, which just broken all the myths. I thought you were there.
Perfect. We were. I was there in New York. You weren't. And had a marvellously busy and hard-working time. But well, thank you for listening to our podcast. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed the episodes. And we will see you again very soon, perhaps at Christmas time.
And it's goodbye from him.
And it's goodbye from me. Well, when are we coming back?
We'll be back. We'll be back on your screens later this year.
Yes, excellent.
Hopefully,
we will do the Christmas special, which is going to be very exciting. And can we say anything about it? No, we can't.
No,
not a word.
We can't. You can't say that.
But it's going to be even bigger and better than ever. No, I'm not going to say anything. Don't worry. So a big thank you to everybody. This was the biggest block I've ever shot of Doctor Who, but it was wonderful, and thank you to everybody who worked so very hard in making it so wonderful. And we'll see you again very soon.